Hello, this is George Pruitt, and I want to go over a strategy that I came across in this book, The Trading Systems, A New Approach to System Development and Portfolio Optimization by Urban Yakel and Emilio Tomasini. I didn't buy this book. Actually, I subscribed to Scribd, and a lot of times you can get these books and you can read them and you pay a monthly subscription. And that's what I did with this. And I came across this system that I wanted to test in my Trading Simula 18. And it's a very simple system. And basically, all you got to do with the system is, and it's best to test on the stock indices, is if it's the last day of the month and the moving average is, the close is above a certain moving average. And in this example, I'm using a 50-day moving average. Then you buy the close of the last day of the month, and you hold it for 4 days, and then get out. You can get stopped out if the close actually goes the other way and penetrates the 50-day moving average from above to below. So if it crosses it before the 4 days has completed, then you get out of the trade. So this is I wanted to demonstrate the power of Trading Simula, so I chose this system to do so. So let's move on to actually doing this in Trading Simula 18. I will also do it in TradeStation, EasyLanguage, and I'll show you some of the differences that are between Trading Simula 18 and TradeStation, other than just, of course, the language is different. Whereas, you're using Python for Trading Simula 18 and EasyLanguage for TradeStation. Okay, what I did was I went in and I opened one of my basic trading templates in Trading Simula 18, and this was called this template is TF Bollinger. That's a good one to start with because it's very basic. It doesn't utilize too much of the portfolio analysis tools that can get a little bit programming intensive. So I picked TF Bollinger BY as a template, and it's always best to start with a template because everything you need in there is there, and so you just have to add to it or take away from it to get what you want programmed. So it's already open, and I'm using idle 3.7 as my IDE for Python. Now, I don't always use idle. I love my PyScripter. I'll show you an example of it. It's really powerful IDE, and I think I got it after I gave him a small donation. So I think you can do the same. And it just has a lot of, I love the look of it. It looks really cool, the coloring and everything like that. And it has the Python shell down here, and it has auto completion. You can do debugging with it, which is a very good debugger. So if you kind of get tired of using idle, and you will if you use it too, quite often. If you're testing just ever so much, a little bit, then idle's fine. Stick with it, especially if you learn it. PyScript is very easy to learn as well. It's just really a professional IDE versus idle. But let's stick with idle for this introductory programming of this system. So here's my TF Bollinger template. And as you know, if you've read my books on Trading Simula 18, there's a lot of code in here, but a lot of this code is like, you don't need to worry about it. It says, this is your import section. You don't have to worry about that. Pay no attention to these two functions unless you want to. You can skip down by that. There's one function, two functions. You set up your algo parameters here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to 2005 0101, and my data, which I think I'm using CSI data database, it only goes through I think February of 2019. I'm now starting to use Pinnacle data, and I just can't tell you how great Pinnacle data is, and it's relatively inexpensive. And the download function is very, very easy to use. It's all batch processing. There's very little graphic user interface, but you really don't need that. The only thing you're doing is you're downloading a huge file every day and distributing it to your ASCII database. So it doesn't have to be sophisticated, but it works. It just works, and it's very fast, and it's great data. So definitely look up pinnacledata.com if you're interested in that. And I bought my database. The continuous data, and I've been playing around with ratio adjusted data. So if you buy what he calls the CLC database, you'll get the ratio adjusted data, you'll get the continuous contract data, which is point adjusted, and you'll also get the non-adjusted data. So it's very worthwhile, the investment. And then if you pay a monthly fee, you can update that daily data, that data daily. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we got the dates we want in here. I'm going to go ahead and change this name of this system. This is the last day of the month system, so let's call it Last DOM. Sorry about that. Sys. It's just something simple. And you got to make sure that you put the closing. Okay, last day. And I'm doing this on the fly. So well, somewhat on the fly. I did program it originally, but we might get some compilation errors because I'm just retyping everything. So if we do that, I'll let you know. I'm going to start out with the init captain. I'm not going to utilize that. I'm going to set the commission equal to, let's set it equal to 0 just to get this programmed. We can go back and change that later. And since I've already started typing, let's go ahead and save this save the actual module. And I'm going to put it in my Trading Simula 18Excel. And Trading Simula 18Excel, you may not have the Excel version. It's free if you want to download it from my website. It just utilizes a little bit of Excel. So you have to incorporate the OpenPiExcel library. So you have to download that with pip to utilize it. For this, you don't need this Excel add-in. So, but I'm going to use mine. And like I said, if you want to get it, it's free on my website. So I'm going to save this as Last Day of Month Sys, just like I named the system in the code. LastDOM Sys. Let's save that. Okay, change the name. That's great. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to calculate a moving average. Okay, first off, let me do this before I don't want to jump the gun here. This system's only going to buy, so it's going to buy on the last day of the month if the moving average is above 50. Okay, so we don't need the short side. We don't need to worry about selling, so or going short. So I'm going to go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take all that code out. As you know, if you haven't played with my Trading Simula 18 templates, I have buy side and sell short logic and the exits that go along with them. So I'm going to scroll down here. Here's my long entry, my long exit. I got a long entry and one long exit, and then I got short entry and my short exit. Okay, I'm not using that, so I'm just going to just delete that. Okay, so that's out. So now let's go ahead and program the calculations that we need to do to see if the moving average is greater than, the close is above the moving average of 50. So what we need, of course, first thing we need is a 50-day moving average. So let's do that. So I come down here, and if you look at my headers, I say start programming your guide, your great trading ideas below here. Don't touch stuff above. Basically, these are little guideposts inside the code where you need to concentrate. It also lets you know you don't need to worry about other stuff. So there is a lot of code, but you can ignore 85% of it. So first off, this is based on a Bollinger Band system. I'm just going to leave all that in there. You can take that out if you like. I'm just going to leave it in there. I'm going to create my average is equal to, let's see, I think it's S average. And I'm going to do my close. It's going to be my close, my moving averages. My moving average is going to be based off my close. And my close is just the list or array of closing prices. My open is the list of opens, my highs, my lows, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to go back 50 days. And we're offsetting by one day. So we put one, you know what, we're not offsetting by one day. We actually want today's close, because we're going to take action on this bar's close in the vernacular of TradeStation's EasyLanguage. So we're going to put a 0 there. So basically this is saying, oh, that wasn't the right place. Sorry about that. We need to put that back. We can actually take that out if you want to, but we're not. We're just going to leave it there. Cur bar and 0 offset. I was in the ATR calculation. Sorry about that. Now I didn't need to declare this my average. You can do it on the fly. And that's the great thing about Python, is very easy. You could just create variables on the fly. But if you mistype them further down in your code, you're messed up. So that it's easy because you can dynamically create variables. But if you're not careful, it can cause a lot of effort when you're trying to debug something. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a simple moving average. My close, which is simply the list of closing prices. We're going to go 50 bars back. We're going to start at the current bar that we're sitting on, and we're going to start with one offset. Now, cur bar is basically the current bar as we loop through history. So cur bar 5 years ago will be 1, or in this case 15 years ago, it'll be 1, and then as we move through time, current bar will move you through that loop. Okay, so you always want to use cur bar in your calculations. And here offset. If we'd put this as 1, it would be using yesterday's close going back 50 bars. If we were to use 2, it would be 2 days back going back, and then going back 50 bars from there. So we've got my average, and basically that's the only calculation we need to do, other than we got to determine if it's the if it's the end of the month. So this is the beauty of trading Simula, and the paradigm I use. I'm sitting on the open of the day of the bar instead of the prior day's close. You know how TradeStation says, if today's such and such, buy next bar, buy next bar. Well, with trading Simula, we don't follow that paradigm. We're actually sitting on today's open. So we have the ability to look at today's open, high, low, close, which if you're not careful, you can cheat, but you kind of want to have that capability to test anything you want. So you have a lot of power trading Simula, but you don't want to abuse that power. So always remember, do not cheat, and you'll know when you cheat. Trump promised me, I'll promise you, you'll get a 45-degree straight up no drawdown equity curve. But you can cheat, and not know it, but just always be careful and think about what you're programming. So what I'm going to do is I've got my moving average. So now I want to go into my buy logic, long entry. I'm not doing any position sizing other than just making it equal to one contract. Here I could actually incorporate a fixed fractional approach using the average true range and the daily portfolio combined equity. As you know, with trading Simula, it knows at the end of every day what the portfolio equity is, which is really cool, and you can do all kinds of crazy stuff with that. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So I'm going to set my position size equal to 1, and I'm going to go down here, and it says let's put in some logic to create a long position. Well, I want to start with, and this is a function I've built into trading Simula. If is new month, and I've got to put my date array, or my date list. My date is just like my open, my highlight, my close. And I want to go ahead and I'm going to use the current bar. And this is where I get to sneak a little bit. I can look into tomorrow and see if it's a new month. If tomorrow is a new month, right? Then I know that today is the end of the prior month. If the current bar plus 1, which is a sneak peek into tomorrow, which you can't do this in TradeStation. Well, you can do this in TradeStation, but you can't mix next bar and this bar on close. So with TradeStation, you can't exactly do what I'm doing. You can kind of. If you want to give up executing on the close, then you could do this in TradeStation's EasyLanguage. But if you want to, use the last day of the month and execute on that bar, then you can't do this in TradeStation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if is new month current bar plus 1, and my close current bar, the current bar I'm sitting on, is greater than my average, and market position. MP, remember MP, market position is, MP stands for market position. So I don't want to go ahead and pyramid. I just want to put one position on. So if tomorrow is a new month, then today must be at the end of the month, and my close of the current bar, my close at the end of the month, is greater than my 50-day simple moving average, and I'm not long, then I want to go ahead and buy on this close. So I'm going to reset the price is equal to my close of cur bar. Okay. And my trade name is going to just be LDOM buy. Last day of the month buy. Okay. You do not need to touch any of this stuff. This is already pre-programmed for you. If you had a editor that has collapsible text, which Sublime has collapsible text or hidden text, or hidden lines, and so does actually PiExcel. So for example, we could pull PiExcel over here. Sorry about that. And say I want to hide this bit of code right here. I just, boom, gone. So you wouldn't see all that code. And actually I could hide it if I want to. I could just hide everything I don't want. I could just go here and you can hide it, which is really cool. It makes it a lot clearer. That's the only drawback about Trading Simula 18 is that there's a lot of code in there that's kind of distracting when you're programming. But if you stay in the areas, and if you had collapsible text or text lines like Sublime or PiExcel or some of the other, it just makes it cleaner and easier to program. But if you don't want to, don't worry about it, and you can use idle. So we don't have to change any of this code. Now, there's two exits that was in the book. The first exit is I want to be out after 4 bars, or I want to be out if the close is greater than the 50-day moving average. Or less than, I'm sorry, less than. So let's go ahead and do that one first. Let's go ahead and do the moving average one. Okay? If I'm long and my close, and I'm just using code, look, see, I don't have to recreate the wheel here. And my close, sorry about that, of the current bar is less than, let's just do less than, my average. And we want to make sure, this is a good thing to do, is come up here and I'll show you, I'm going to show you another really cool thing in PiExcel or in Sublime too. To make sure that I'm using the right variable name, I can do this here. Okay, you see my average there? Watch this. I click on it. Everywhere my average is used, it is highlighted. So I know I'm using the same word. So that's a really cool feature. If you don't want to retype everything, you could just come up here and just say copy and come down here and say paste. Okay. And I've been in the trade more than one day. You don't want to get in and get out in the same price. So I'm making it bar since entry be greater than 1. I'm going to use the close. That's where I'm getting out at, my close. And you're saying, hey, how can you calculate the moving average and execute on the close if you need the close to calculate the moving average? Well, if you're trading this type of system, you kind of know, or you should know, that the moving average is going to be above or below the close of the day. I mean, it's an end-of-day system. You can do the calculations multiple times during the day. So yeah, you can actually get very close to predicting where that moving average is going to fall in relation to today's close. So in this case, I'm going to let this type of system go through because I think you can do it. A lot of times, if it's a complicated calculation incorporating today's close and you want to execute on today's close, you shouldn't do this. You should say next bar on open. But in the case of a simple moving average comparison, it's safe to say you could probably do it. Okay, so let's get back to the code. If I'm long and my close is less than my average and my bar since entry is greater than 1, I'm going to set my close to the current bar, my price. My trade name is going to be, I'm going to call it LExit moving average. That way I know that I'm getting out on the average. That's what forced me to get out. I'm going to need another long exit. So I'm just going to copy. Here again, it's you don't type much with Trading Simula. It's just a lot of copy paste, and it's with EasyLanguage as well. You know, it's any language, and when you're doing in a platform that's designed for developing trading systems, there's a lot of copy and paste. Okay, if I'm long, and this time, if I'm going to get out if bar since entry is greater than, or equal, I guess I should say, or okay, I'm going to say greater than 4. And you're probably saying, well, why 4? Why greater than 4? Well, the way Trading Simula calculates the bar entry, the bar of entry is 1. So the day, even if you're getting in the close, I consider that day 1. And some trade station I don't think does that. I think it waits a day. So, but in this case, we need to go greater than 4. My price is going to be on the close, and this is going to be the trade name or filter name is just going to be 4-bar exit, I'm sure. Yeah, and we'll call it 4-bar exit. Bar exit. Okay. So what do we got here? We got the entry logic. If is new month, if tomorrow is the new month, and my current close is greater than my 50-day moving average of closes, and I'm not currently long, then I'm going to set my price equal to the close, and I'm going to go long. First exit. If I'm long, imp equals 1, and my close is less than the moving average, and bar since entry is greater than 1, then I'm just going to get out on the close, based on the relationship between the moving average and the closing price. And my second exit is if I'm long and bar since entry is greater than 4, then I'm going to get out on the current bar because I'm only going to hold the trade for 4 bars. Okay, I think that does it. Do not change code below. I'm going to follow my directive. So I think I've programmed everything. Now, what we can do is, I like to keep it here. I don't know if it'll return to this top because it's good to just have this code here so you can go back and fix things, which we probably will have to fix something. This is the first time you program it, so I hadn't played with this in a long time. Oh, check module. There it is. Check module. Source must be saved. Okay. Okay, EOL while scanning string literal. Okay, see what I did there? That should be an end quote there. Okay, let's see if that fixed it. Check module. Okay. And basically, if you get the 3 greater than signs, the syntax is correct. I mean, the logic's right. The syntax is correct. Starting point. You got to get the syntax right before you can do anything else. So let's go ahead and run this system. I'm going to run the module from idle. And I'm going to pick the ES data that I've got in the database. And then another thing with idle, and this happens with PyScript sometimes, when you run it, you got to kind of move the windows around to find your open file dialog, and there it is right there. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my commodity data in my Trading Simula 18. Sorry about the commodity futures data. And I'm going to pick ES. Not the day session. I've got the day session as well, but I'm just going to pick the ES. And I think you might have this data in with the, I think this data came with the book as well. So I'm going to hit open. Uh-oh, got an error message. What is it? Is new month not defined? Okay, that's a function call, okay? And it's kind of a relatively new function call. So let me show you how you fix something like that. You're saying, George, that's built into Trading Simula 18. It is built into Trading Simula 18, but you have to know you have to import it. And this will be in, this should, I'm gonna make sure all these changes are in the next day or so in the downloads. When you download it, it'll have this in there. So from utility functions, I'm going to import is new month. Okay. If it's an external function, you have to import it. That's a kind of the thing with any type of programming language. Python requires any external functions to be pulled into the source code, and that's what you're doing. And you're probably saying, well, how would I know if it is new month? Well, or what it is. What you can do is you can go into your Trading Simula 18 folder if you want to. If you want to play around with this, you can trust me it's there. Or if you want to just double check yourself, you can go to Utility Functions. See, all this is completely exposed in the, or disclosed in the logic. So let me see, is there a function called is new month? And lo and behold, there is. So it is inside of utility functions. I just need to import it, and I did. So we did that. Let's run this and see if it works this time. It'd be embarrassing if it doesn't, but hopefully it will. This is what happens when you program live. Okay. So we need to pick up the ES data. And I print out the progress of the bar process of the how many bars we've processed at the time, so you know when it's over. And also I start printing out a bunch of statistics on the screen, so you know if it's working or if it's not working. In this case, it worked. And let's go back. And this is just a quick synopsis. If you trade the last day of the month in the direction of the 50-day moving average, and you hold it for 4 days, or liquidate if you penetrate the moving average on the other side, you'll make $26,000 with a max drawdown of $10,900, close trade drawdown of $10,900. And you can go ahead and check your cool stats out in here in your TS trading, in your Trading Simula 18 folder. Yours may not say Excel, mine does. So I've got all kinds of stuff here. Here's the trades, and all this stuff is Notepad compatible, so it should open up in Notepad. And here's some trades, and you can tell they're all occurring on the last day of the month. There's your 4-bar exit there. Another 4-bar exit, nice winner there. And so there's all kinds of statistics you can pick up out of there. We didn't do any sector analysis. You don't have to worry about that. If you want some more summary, I give you some more information about the trades here, which isn't too much different than the composite report, but it does break it down a little bit more. I'll give you the average win, the average loss, average trade, average drawdown, max drawdown, average monthly return, standard deviation of monthly returns in case you want to do some sharp ratios and things like that. And I'm going to start adding stuff like that into the performance metrics as well. This is the thing that uses the OpenPiExcel library. LastDayOfMonth SysExcel SX. What it does is it creates this. My Trading Simula creates this, and what I wanted to have more of a graphic representation of the equity, so you could see it real quick. And there is the equity curve, and that's reason if you want to incorporate Excel, you have to use the Trading Simula with the OpenPiExcel add-in, and I've got videos on how to do that on the website. Okay, so how do we know that's right? Well, you don't. You could go by and you could go out and print things out, but hopefully whoever developed the platform you're testing on has done a lot of the due diligence, and it's the moving average calculations are done right, the last day of the month calculations are done right ahead of time. So if you still are worried and you do have TradeStation at your disposal, you could program this in TradeStation as well. Okay, and let's do that just for laughs and giggles. Now, when I did this, at first I thought, well, this would be very simple. I'll just do the same concept with that I did with Trading Simula. I was going to do, basically the only thing we needed to worry about was we needed the moving average value. My average is equal to average, or S average, I'm sorry. Well, we're just going to use pseudocode here, so we're going to average. See, 50, right? And then if last day of month and C greater than my average do something, then by next bar. I mean by this bar. This is the important one, because if you did next bar, you could do it by this bar on close. Okay. If bar since entry is greater than or equal to 4, I think you greater than or equal to 4 here, then sell this bar on close. If C less than my average and market position equals 1, then sell this bar on close. Okay, now that's pretty concise code there, isn't it? And you don't have all that other stuff like Trading Simula had, all the extra code that you see that you don't need to pay attention to. Well, I got around to playing with this, and there's no last day of month function like I have in, there is now since I created it, and if you want it, you can download it from my website. But prior to me programming this, I didn't have a last day of month function. So I said, well, why don't I just do something like if month date is not equal to, right, month date of tomorrow. Well, it won't let you do that, because that's what I'm doing with my Trading Simula. I'm saying, okay, if month date, which is March, and the month date of tomorrow is April, the 2 months with this will be 3 and this will be 4. They won't match, right? So I know it's the end of the month, so then I can execute my trade. Can't do that because we don't have this last day of month. We can't mix. It'll give you an error message. You can't say date of tomorrow or next bar. You could say date of next bar. Same thing as tomorrow, right? Next bar. But it won't let you compile it. It'll say you can't mix next bars and this bar is on close, or something very similar to that. So what do? Well, what I did was I went ahead and said, okay, let's create this end of month function. I thought, hey, that's easy. The end of the month is either the 30th or 31st, right? If it's the 30th and it's an even month, or mostly even months. Let me see. June 30th, April 30th, what, Feb 28. Oh, Feb 28. That's different. Feb 29. We got a leap year in there. What about Good Friday? What happens when the last day of the month is supposed to be a Friday, but it's Good Friday? So I started monkeying around with it in TradeStation, and what I thought would take just a few minutes to do actually took me about an hour to debug the thing, and I'll show you the code real quick. And this code will be made available to you. So, I mean, I created it. Why not share it? So I had to create all these if-thens. Okay? I had to create, if it's the 29th of the month and it's a Friday, then it's the last day of the month. If it's the 30th of the month and it's a Friday, it's the last day of the month. If it's the 31st of the month, I don't care what month it is, it's going to be the last day of the month. If you come up and it says 31st is the day of the month, it's the last day of the month. What about the 30th day of the month in April, June, September, and November? Well, it's the last day of the month. Those are even months. Okay, what if it's the 28th day of the month and it's February and it's not a leap year? Well, it's the end of the month. So I got all these conditions set in here, so I had to go back, and it took a few. I had to have one Memorial Day adjustment, which is generic. so it will apply to all Memorial Days. But then I had these problems where Easter 2013 adjustment, and then I had to do this Easter of 2018 adjustment. No big deal. So this code is there for you if you want to use it. So I ran the numbers on a similar time period, and here's the performance summary. And I am using different data. So I got very similar results. Let me show you. There is the TradeStation performance numbers. And let's go back and look at my trading Simula, which I think I had this open already, but let's go and look at the summary. Sorry about that. There it is. So we've got TradeStation numbers. Okay. Here I made 25,650. With 112 trades, 120 trades, 112 trades. Percent wins, 62.5. That's about the same. See, 60%. I'd show it to you, but if I go over to click over. So the numbers are almost dead on. The drawdown, the reason the drawdown is off is because this data, my data only went through February. This is through June. So, and that's when the drawdown occurred, the worst case drawdown. If you look at the equity curve, performance graphs, there's your drawdown. Right there, from here to here. And that's because of this volatility that we've seen since the pandemic. And my data did not have that. So if you look at my equity curve, there it is. I had the initial equity curve. And then it bubbled back up, and the data only goes through February, so you would have seen it do this. So that's the difference between TradeStation and Trading Simula 18 on this system. All this source code will be made available on the website. If you have any questions, just email me at georgepruitt@gmail.com. And I'm going to spend about 30 more seconds explaining the paradigm, the two different paradigms for testing. With Trading Simula, it's not a trading platform, it's a testing platform. So I want to give everybody the full capability, everything you need to be able to test something, even if you have to sneak a peek at tomorrow. If you need to do that, and you know that you're cognizant of your capability of cheating with Trading Simula 18, and you don't take advantage of it, but you do use that information to help program something a lot easier, like this last day of the month thing, then that's fine. I think when you're back testing, you should have the full power of the platform at your disposal. Now with TradeStation, it's a hybrid. It's a back testing platform, but at the same time, it's a trading platform. So they want to be able to transition from testing to trading as easily as possible without having to modify the code at all. So there are some limitations to being able to test everything that you want with TradeStation. You're gonna bump your head against the ceiling sometimes, but TradeStation will test almost everything you want that you could possibly want. So I just want to let you know that how simple it is to test this type of system in Trading Simula 18. And I hope you have enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will get back to you as fast as I can. And again, the only thing I did was I renamed my template, changed the stuff I needed here, and then I went to the buy side. Short side, eliminated the short side, and created my average. And then I tested against the last day of the month and the close direction in relationship to the average. And then I programmed my first long exit and my second long exit, and that's all there was to it. So I've got all kinds of neat code. I got the Monte Carlo, the start trade drawdown analysis. All that's available in the Trading Simula folder once you program the system. I appreciate it, and thank you.